Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to Sims Workshop. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. So today we are going to be doing my February wrap up. I read 14 books. I went on vacation the last week of February, so that whole last week wasn't so much like time to read. It was just like catch up on work. So it is what it is. I did want to do more, but obviously that didn't happen. And some books kind of put me in a little bit of a slump. So we'll get into that. First up, I read Fledging. This was not a great month for me. I was really disappointed by a lot of books. This was a book that was sent to me by a publisher. It was a Final Proof arc sent to me, and I have to say I was ultimately disappointed. It did remind me a little bit of Total Recall in the remake, in the way that the society was kind of broken up, you know, with high earth and low earth, right? I think what I struggled with was the world building the most, because some of the semantics with some of the low earth royalty didn't quite make sense, or it was hard to keep track of with all these different characters. Because that's another thing, there are a lot of characters, and I often found myself just kind of having to reorient myself again with these characters and be like, okay, wait, who are you again? Because it's also not linear, you know? These are all things I normally don't mind. I don't mind non-linear storytelling. I don't mind when you have a plethora of characters. I don't mind that stuff. It just didn't flow in this book, which sucks because I do like Ali's rom-com, strangely enough. I do like her contemporary young adult romance books quite a lot, actually. This book just didn't hit it for me, and I was really, really excited to read it because I like her contemporary romance books, and I love dystopian sci-fi as well. A lot of books with like political intrigue. Those are things that I really do like and I tend to gravitate towards. I just don't think it worked in this book. I feel like it could have been two different books, and I think that would have been better. And I honestly feel like maybe because the book does say, you know, if you go on Goodreads or Google, you know, book one, right? And I'm like, oh, it's a book one of a series. Okay, great. I have a feeling that the publisher decided to be like, you know what, we don't really feel like this book's gonna hit it for us. So instead of making it a series, let's just make it one book, right? Because it felt like there was so much crammed in there that it just, the pacing wasn't always on point. The way it went back and forth with the characters in the nonlinear way didn't flow in a way to keep you hooked. And that was really, really unfortunate because I really had high hopes for this book. But I do think if the book had been split up into two different books, it would have been a little bit more concise. It would have been easier to follow. It would have been better fluidity as well, you know? I think based on like the back cover blurb, I feel like things were missing as well from the book, you know? The back cover blurb does say, you know, the tension between her and Safa's twin brother, she doesn't know what to do about it. And I'm like, oh, so there's going to be like a simmering enemies to lovers thing going on here. And that's not really never developed at all. But it's what I was expecting based on how that back cover blurb was written. So that's what I'm saying. It feels like the book wasn't as fleshed out as it was meant to be. And I feel like it was meant to be the start of a series that's just not going to get completed anymore, which, you know, kind of sucks. It has a lot of potential. And I think maybe the publisher should have just had a little bit more confidence in it. After that, I read The Rules of Magic. I think this is my favorite one of the series. So we're going to talk about all three of them together. Rules of Magic, Practical Magic, and the Book of Magic, right? I read all three of them back to back to back. I listened to the audiobooks. I have to say, this one's my favorite. I love the characterization between Victor, Jet, and Franny? Yeah, Franny. I love the characterization between the siblings. I love how we're following them on their lifelong journey dealing with magic. And I love how they themselves kind of delve into the magic, because you don't really see that a lot in practical magic. You know, you don't see Sally and Gillian really like delve into the magic in the book. It's been ages since I've read the movie, so don't even ask me about the movie. But I feel like it had a lot more depth to it. And now you have to remember, this one was written after practical magic, like years later, after magic lessons. So she wrote practical magic first, and then she wrote magic lessons, which was also phenomenal. And then you read rules of magic. So her writing style has changed a lot. You get to see that growth when you go from that one to that one. And that's usually why I tend to just say read in publication order. But I'm glad I read these in chronologically versus publication order. I'm glad I read that. It's really a dip back for me, in my opinion, because I do get to see that writing style and the way it changed, and how, like, oh yeah, her writing in Rules of Magic is so much better than her writing and characterization in Practical Magic. But Practical Magic very much was of its time. It was very much written in the way most books were written when that book was published. Not as, like, dense, so to speak. But I think that's why I liked Rules of Magic way more than Practical Magic. I thought Practical Magic was okay. I liked it. I think I would have liked it more if there had been more magic and a little bit more, I guess, substance to the plot, so to speak. But I like how Sally and Gillian, find each other again and, reunite as sisters. I think their bond is really good. And I think Sally's struggle with her daughters, because, single parent raising them, I think that was also pretty relatable, although I would have liked to see someone delve deeper into the magic element of their family outside of Jet and Franny. I would have loved it more if, Gillian and Sally really delved deeper into it in the book. Which brings me to the Book of Magic, which was honestly a little disappointing to read. It didn't really feel like it was a sequel to the book. It felt like it was more of a sequel to the movie, because it was so very inconsistent. It was very, very inconsistent with plot points established in the 3 previous books. And these are important plot points, like the death of Sally's first husband. They're like, oh, he was struck by lightning. Like, no, he was not struck by lightning. He was hit by teen drunk drivers, He was hit by a car. That's how he died. I wished that the death of her second husband was kind of delved into a little bit more, I felt like it was kind of like brushed over. Her daughter's career path seemed really out there. Didn't really seem like, oh yeah, this was the direction that they were going to go, especially Gillian as well. I'm like, okay, this didn't seem like the direction your future was going to go. So it seemed like very left field all of a sudden, these characterizations and these character dynamics. I do like that they got to go to Europe and really went deeper into the origins of their family magic and the curse that binds them together. It was just ultimately really disappointing to me, though, because of all of those inconsistencies. And because of all those inconsistencies, I really couldn't find myself enjoying it, because I was just like listening to it and then just criticizing, like, no, that's wrong. This is what you established in books, 2 or 3. Like, this is what you've already established. Why are you going back on that? Stop it. So that's ultimately my feelings on those 3. I am glad I read them back to back to back. I am glad that I read them chronologically versus publication order. Because I think it just worked better for me, strangely enough, because I very much am a proponent of read by publication order, hands down. Cassandra Clare, always. People ask, well, let me start. Like, no, do not start with The Last Hours. Do not start with Clockworks. You start with the original. Otherwise, you will hate yourself for it, because when you read from the beginning, publication, City of Bones, to current ones, you get to see her writing style grow. So then you have a stronger appreciation for newer stuff, and then you still can appreciate her older stuff without thinking like, oh, this is bad. Like, no, that was her first book, And in this case, I do get to see that sentiment a little bit, because yes, Rules of Magic is, I do think, a better written book than Practical Magic, but I also think it's a better written book than the Book of Magic. So that's why it's honestly my favorite of the series. Of all four, though, I really like that one the most. After those three, what else did I read? Let's look at my notes. I read, the Sidonian Pyramid. So this was Claudio Disco's book 2. So, yo. I was very, very surprised. A lot of questions were answered with this book. So thankfully, a lot of questions were answered, and I was very, very happy about that. I think what I liked best was we got to see Lalia's origin. We got to see her origin, and then the whole journey that she took to get back to Tucker. Because her and Tucker, like, their fates are entwined now. Like, they are there for each other. They've got no one else, and they don't want anyone else, right? They're just trying to, like, survive this crazy Klaatu Disco's experiment, right? I love their dynamic. I love seeing Lalia grow, because you really do get to see her grow, because she goes through so much. You had no idea when you first meet her in the first book that she goes through so much. And when you see her again, when Tucker's dad is trying to sacrifice him in the first book, like, she's just like, whoa, when did you become this warrior chick? So to see her entire journey was so powerful, and it was very much tension driven. And I like that we're seeing it through the lens of Tucker's telling the story. Like, he's in the North Pole in the past, and he's telling the story to someone who found him in North Pole. Like, kid, what you doing out here? You call me? And he's like, no, but you're not going to believe me if I tell you. And he's like, try me. So he tells this whole wild story of Lalia's whole adventure. And it's so wild. So I like that we're also seeing it through the lens of Tucker Fay telling the story, because we're also not losing Tucker Fay as a character. So the ending, still can't wait for the second book. The third book, which I started reading, and I'm already like, I love it. I do love it, because they're together again. They're finally reunited. And it feels so good. So it's great. It's honestly so good. I followed that up with Blood of Owls. I loved The Last Witch and Sword of Destiny. Those were 2 5-star reads for me. This one, not so much. I understand that it's different. Those 2 were like anthologies. They were short stories. But the tonal shift is so different here. And I understand that there's like a translation barrier there, but I really felt like I was missing something when I was reading this book. I really felt like, what am I missing here? Like, I feel like there's more that's kind of happening in the plot that I'm not seeing because of the translation. Because it feels like nothing really happened. Half the time I'm just like, where are we going here? What are we doing? It's a lot of backstory. It is a lot of, I don't want to say characterization. I do like the characterization. I will say Cirilla, Trish, Yennefer, they're great. Especially when Trish calls out all the witches. They're just like, you guys are idiots. She's on her period. And they're like, oh, right. And she's like, yeah, she can't train today. She's on her fucking period, idiots. And they're like, right. Sorry. Because they've never trained the girl before. They've never trained the girl witcher. And I love how they all kind of adopt Cirilla. Everyone who meets Cirilla, they just adopt her. Like, okay, you're my child now. Especially Geralt. He's so protective of her. And I love their dynamic. And I love how Yennefer and her soon become to bond, right? And you get to see Cirilla's youth in this book a lot, You get to see just how young she is in this book. And how she's really just learning, and how she has to, like, she's still suffering so much PTSD from everything that's happened to her. And you get that, but you're seeing her kind of grow from it and learn to overcome the trauma. So I liked it, but as far as the plot goes, characterization was great. I just feel like nothing really happened, and I felt like I was missing something. Like, I feel like there was something happening, but I wasn't seeing it. So 4 stars for that one, really. Divided by Fire. So this was a book that was sent to me by the author. They contacted me, they sent me the book, and I, read the synopsis. Like, yeah, go ahead, send me the copy of the book. I would love to read it. I felt like it was going to be something right up my alley. Okay, this was supposed to be my 30 to 50 page a book read, right? Something I'd be done with it earlier on. This book really put me in kind of a slump because I gave up after the second chapter of doing 30 to 50 pages because it was just, that second chapter was 48 pages long and nothing happened. Nothing happened. It was just so utterly boring to me. And that sentiment carried on for the entirety of the book. Even when, you want to know, this speaks volumes. I don't even remember the main character's name, but I remember the name of her husband, Green, her sister, Vasia, her brother, Riker, and then her bastard father, Thornhill. I remember everyone else, but I can't for the life of me remember her name. And I don't have the book anymore because I gifted it to my job. Work at a bookstore. We often gift books to one another all the time. It was just okay. I struggled. I honestly, the last 40 pages of the book, I finished it right before my vacation. I'm like, this book's not coming on vacation with me. It's not coming on vacation with me. Absolutely not. I'm leaving work today and it's staying here. I was very vocal about that in my break room. My boss was like, wow, you really don't like that book. I'm like, it's boring as hell. It's really so boring. It was just the most boring thing in the world, and I wanted so much from it. I wanted more fantasy. I wanted more dragons. I wanted so much more from it. I think the characterization for the main character, I can't even remember her name. She's very forgettable. She was not a strong main character in my opinion. I just found her boring, her narrative boring, and I found the story boring. So I was very disappointed by that book, honestly. And I feel bad about being disappointed by it because the author took the time to reach out to me and send it to me. Now, I followed that up with We Who Will Die by Stasia Stark. This was another one that I struggled to get through. And it's not because it was poorly written. It wasn't. I think my issue is, I think that the market has been oversaturated with this type of book. I think there's an oversaturation of this type of character having to fight for survival in a magical world, and she's, stubborn and stoic, and I think there's just an oversaturation of it in the market right now, and I think I'm just kind of bored of it. So I think the ending was really interesting. So I am going to read book 2. There's nothing stopping me from reading book 2. Like I said, it's not a bad written book. It's really not. I'm just bored of these types of books, I think. I think I've just read too much of them recently that I'm just like, you know what? I need to just kind of take a break from books like this so that way I can go back to enjoying them to the fullest. Because it reminds me a lot of books that I've read that I like much better, like Carissa Broadbent. I think as well, the atmosphere when I was physically reading it of the book reminded me too much of Blood of Hercules, and I fucking hated that book. So I had to audiobook it. I'm like, oh yes, this is so much better. So I enjoyed it way more as an audiobook because I kind of got that mental cleanse that was much required and much needed because I was struggling. I'm just like, I hate how this reminds me and feels like Blood of Hercules, and I fucking hated that book. I hate that book. It's a bad book. But regardless, I got the audiobook, it did the mental cleanse, and then I was able to really go back and read it and audiobook it and, really get into it. I think the magical creature element was really cool. I think her power as a siphon was really cool. That was a really nice reveal. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with the book inherently. It's just, it feels like too many stuff that's out there already, so I was bored by that. This was not a great month for me, as you can tell. It was just okay. But The ending was well done enough that I am interested enough to read the follow-up book. Maybe not buy it, but, well, no, I have to buy it because I have the LitJoy version and I need a matching set because I'm psychotic, so I will buy it. And if I don't love that one, then I'll probably just resell it, as a set. But I'm holding out hope. I'm holding out hope because, like I said, it's not a poorly written book. I was just bored by it, ultimately. And that led me to being somewhat disappointed by it as well. So, but still, decent enough book. I give it a solid 3 stars. I followed that up with Alchemy of Secrets. Okay, I love Stephanie Garber's Once Upon a Broken Heart series. This book was a whole lot of nothing. Whole lot of nothing. First of all, Holland as a character, I could not connect to her at all. She has absolutely no self-preservation skills. She just continues to make stupid decisions and just think without acting, and she has absolutely no self-preservation skills whatsoever. Okay. I'm also really confused by her age, because for someone who's supposed to be like a grad student, like 26, she seems very much like she is a teenager. She acts like it, I think she very much reads like a young adult character, not someone who's supposed to be getting her grad and working on her graduate thesis. Like, there's no sense of maturity to her as a character, and that kind of sucked, because I was constantly having to remind myself, like, no, she's not a teenager, she's an adult making stupid decisions repeatedly. She cannot trust anyone around her. Everyone around her has like a secret. Nothing is resolved. The entire book, nothing is resolved. There's no resolution to anything. To the point where I thought she didn't even have a twin sister. I'm like, maybe she has a secret power where she splits into 2 people and she doesn't know it. She splits into 2 people. There was an interesting plot twist at the end that I did not see coming. But that's all this book really has going for it. And if it weren't for the fact that this is supposed to be the start of a new series, I would already be selling my Fairy Loot edition. But I'm holding out hope that the second book is going to be better. Because I like having a complete set. But if it were not for that fact, I would just be keeping my Owl Crate and selling the Fairy Loot. And then further down the line, I probably would just end up reselling the Owl Crate. But it's supposed to be a start of a series, so now I'm trapped forever. Because I do like Stephanie Garber's young adult books. I just wasn't feeling this one. Wasn't. I followed that up with The Will of the Many. Now this was a book that blew me away. The Will of the Many. Ooh, that was so good. Okay. It was really so good. I love the Red Rising vibes from it. I think Viz is a really good character. I love his character growth. Most in, you know what I'm trying to say. I love his character development. How he goes from being like this hate seed, has so much hate and the need for revenge deep seated inside of him, to at the end where he's just like, is violence really the only way for us to enact change? There has to be a better way, because he's gotten to know people who are not responsible for what happened to his family, but how it is he enact change? Like, is violence the only way? And then he learns how to play the system. Like, he tries to, get it by merit alone, but it's like, no, I have to be conniving and, malicious in order to rise. So he's a really, really good character, and he does a lot of good characterization. There's a whole lot of good character growth as well. I love the atmosphere of the book. I love that kind of dark academia kind of aspect with this school. I love the way Will is kind of like a Jedi Force power in a way. I think it's a good book that has a lot of really good political intrigue, really good character dynamics, really good characterization, solid world building, even though those first 200 pages are a little slow. And that ending, I read it twice. Not because I didn't get it, because I was just mind blown and be like, did I just read what I thought I read? And yes, I did read it correctly. And I'm like, okay, cool. Cool. Cannot wait to see what book 2 brings. So glad I already own it. Like I'm here for it. I am clocked in. I am hooked. So that was a solid 4.5, 5 stars for me. I read Rise of Neptune next. This was one of the books that I was reading to my son at night. He really loved it. I think I ended up loving it way more than him, to the point that I've already pre-ordered book 3, The Void Dragon, because the ending of this was jaw-dropping. Jaw-dropping, let me just tell you. I love how the stakes have risen in this book. I like how we're seeing more of the space dragons come, like Triton, and we get to see his trident. I like Proteus. And I also like that Proctor gets her own POV in this book, and you really get to see and learn who Proctor is in this novel. You still get Lunar. You still see Lunar continuing to like rise to the occasion as a Martian. His connection with Dread. I love their dynamic. Like, these two are bros for sure. I love their dynamic. I love seeing all the dragons kind of come together to battle Triton. And I like that Proteus can see the future. But he's like, well, the future's always changing. There's like 1,000, it's not one of those like, oh yeah, if you see the future, there's one. Like, no, I think the author did a really good job of saying like, well, there's all these different paths you can take, based on all of these different decisions that you can take. And he sees all of them. So he's a little weird, this kid, but he's great. I love him, honestly. I think he's such a good character. But that ending was creepy as hell. And I'm so like, what? Like, I was so angry. I was reading it to my son, and I'm like, you're going to end it like that? My son's like, what? He's like, it's over? I'm like, yeah, it's over. He's like, but what happened? I'm like, I don't know, because it went black. The book ends with everything went black, and I'm like, what? Bastards. But now I'm really excited to read book 3, and so my son is too. I followed that up with Game Changer. Now you're probably thinking, Cynthia, Game Changer, what? Did I hop on the bandwagon? Yes, kind of. No, I have not seen the Heat of Rivalry show. I don't have that streaming service. I'm all for it. Maybe I'll watch it sometime in the future. That's just not the kind of shows that I gravitate toward anymore. And also I have kids, I don't really get to watch TV anymore. Not the shows that I really want to watch anyway. I picked up this book to support my bestie, Jeff, because I'm my bestie Jeff. He started his own book club, and this is the first pick, so I'm like, yeah, let me support you. I'm going to support you, because he supports me and I support him. We're brother and sister. It's what it is. Really enjoyed it more than I thought I would. Some of the sex scenes, I'm not really a smut reader. That's the thing with me. I don't really like all the explicit details, so I could have done without a lot of that, just because that's not usually something that I gravitate towards at all. But I do like the emotion between the characters, and I do like how they're very real characters. I like the humanity in the characters and how Scott and Kip's relationship really grows, and how, that scene, the whole I don't want to be in the closet, like that whole scene was impactful and really powerful. And I really liked that. I liked the emotion, the very, very real representation that this book brings to the queer community. And I think that's something that, kind of really is needed. So I do like it, and I like how I liked it way more than I thought I would. I will say I also did just finish reading, as part of March, Heated Rivalry. I like the pacing for Heated Rivalry more, but I like the story and the relationship between Kip and Scott way more, and the struggles that they went through with the novel. I think their story is more powerful and impactful for overall. Then I read Call of the Dragon by Natasha Bowen. She did Skin of the Sea, or Sea the Skin. Never get it right. It really was a great book. Ultimately, I like the African mythology. I don't know a whole lot of African mythology, so sometimes when I read books with heavy African mythology aspects to it, I don't always connect to because it's not something that I normally know anything about. But this book really delved into it into a way that made it really accessible to me and really relatable. I really thoroughly enjoyed the book, you know? I think I liked most Moremi's, I hope I'm saying her name right. I liked her character development, first and foremost. I think her characterization was really, really well done. I think that she goes from being very insecure and very unsure of herself and very much feeling like she's an embarrassment to her mother to being this formidable force. You know, she's chosen one of the 2 dragons, and now she's bringing this new power in order to save basically the world. And there's just the ferocity in which she does that, just how she grows into herself and stops being insecure, and really just the fierceness of it. Oh, that was fire. It was amazing. I absolutely loved that about her. And the ending, I'm hoping there's a book 2. I want to see more of Moremi and the 2 dragons. Because the 2 dragons are basically like Gaia and Uranus. That's how they kind of like function. One is of the earth and one is of the sky. And it's never been done before. You know, the ones of the earth are usually women. The ones of the sky are usually men, priestess. So, you know, and Inan is how the inherent magical sense that they have. So it was really, really a well done book. Really, really well executed. Hands down, absolutely loved it. Couldn't put it down. I'm so glad I just ended the month on a good note. I'm so happy I did. And then last but not least, Cardcaptor Sakura Volume 5. What can I say that I have not already said? I love Cardcaptor Sakura. This one has Yue in it. It's Yue's reveal and then the judgment. And it ends with Errol's arrival. I loved everything about it. It's cute, it's fun, it's sweet, it's just action-packed. I love the illustrations. I love Caro. I think the characterization is just amazing, ultimately. And I loved it so much. So, on that note, thank you all for tuning in. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your book-loving friends. Let me know how your month went. And on that note, I'm going to go let my family in the front door now. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, happy reading.